What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hold Husband Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Ryan. I got my co-host, Jay Bob, on the line with me. What's going on with you, man?
Not much. Looking forward to get into another great episode for tonight. Unfortunately, SD's not with us this week, but we look forward to having him back next week. But want to quickly remind y'all, you can catch us on TikTok as well as subscribe to us on YouTube at Hold Podcast. And for those of you interested in promos and shoutouts, shoot us a DM on IG at Hold Husband Podcast, as well as email us at holdhusbandpodcast@gmail.com. All right, T.
I want to start off by giving a shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us laced with our background music. I want to remind everybody to continue supporting the podcast through our Cash App and our PayPal. And I'd like to remind you guys that you can also catch the audio playback of the podcast every Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on thecore94.com. This episode is titled, Are We the Problem? And we're going to be having a conversation about why our dating strategies seem to be more targeted towards flings, situationships versus long-term relationships and marriages. Which I know how we do around here, man. We like to start the podcast off discussing stuff that we've seen trending or on our timelines. So we got two interesting videos this week, Jake. This first video is talking about why women making emotional decisions is such a problem. Let's take a look.
Let's get into it, family. Women tend to make decisions in the heat of the moment, where the thoughts are super loud and extremely hard to quiet. And we make a move, not in clarity, but all in our feelings. The reality is it's unforgiveness that has turned into real resentment. And you feel, or she feels like she doesn't feel anything for that person anymore. But really it's unforgiveness. So then we explode in bitterness. But what we don't understand and we don't realize is that bitterness and resentment are strong feelings, just in the wrong direction. And so once they leave the relationship and some time has passed, and they done calm down, they start to remember the positive thing. Start thinking that, man, this probably could have worked out. And we quickly realize that unforgiveness that turned into resentment and bitterness was the end of a relationship you never truly wanted to end.
We see these videos all the time. The divorce regret, I left my husband and he was the perfect husband. It's usually a result of that the grass is greener on the other side kind of mentality. And we've seen it. Men do it too, men leave quality women, but I definitely think it's something that women do at a much higher rate because society has led them to believe that there are so many options and that they deserve so much that even when they have a good situation and they're with a good man, it looks and feels like it's not enough to them when they compare it to what they see on their timeline and listen to the stuff that their friends and family members tell them.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, I mean, there's a laundry list of reasons of why women leave men in a relationship. Like I said, a lot of times there's good situations. This guy's a good dude. He's willing to give her the shit off his back, give her the world, and it's still just not enough for one reason or another. Like out of all, like think about it like this. I think it's like he could do 80 to 90% things right, and what she would be looking for, and then it's that 10% she's looking, that 10 to 20% that she's looking for outside someplace else. So, like I said, she's listening to her friends, family, stuff she sees on social media, guys in her DM. She thinks she has these options, and she's thinking she's going to find, what's missing someplace else. She goes in and it's not there. And in fact, a lot of times it's even worse, and that's where the regret comes from.
Yeah, like I tell you all the time, in my sessions with women about their relationships and their problems or whatnot, a lot of the time when I have them explain to me what's going on or what the real problem is, a lot of times they're complaining about men not doing or thinking what they would do. And so I have to put it in context and explain to them how ridiculous it would be if he was calling me complaining about her not acting like him. Like that. It seems like they really don't seem to understand that men and women can be in the same scenario and have a completely different viewpoint on it and respond to it totally different. That's why having a male and a female energy in a relationship is so vital. But a lot of times men are penalized for thinking and feeling, how men operate. The same way men are penalized for expressing what they think or feel about certain things. Women will have a problem with you for having a problem with something she's doing. And so all these type of dynamics, depending on the man and the situations he's in, they have a real impact on relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And and like I said, it's just a lot of these times it's just really trivial reasons. Like I think some women, not all, but some think they're beyond reproach. You can't tell them anything, and I think that causes problems in relationships too, right? I mean, obviously, we're not going to be 100% perfect. We all have our flaws, right? And there's always going to be something that us as men do that women don't like. There's going to be some things that women do that we don't like, and it's always like that.
It's part of the game.
Exactly. But if you're sitting there, a guy can't say anything or can't correct you, I would say then what's the point of being in that relationship? So no matter where you go, what guy you deal with, it's always gonna be something that you do that he might not like.
Well, I think a big influence on women that kind of leave relationships sooner rather than later is I think a lot of women have a financial incentive to leave the relationship. That threat of I'll put you on child support, I'll do, you know what I'm saying, like having control of his child, being able to tap finances from him, being able to inconvenience him and make things more difficult for them. So women get a lot of power, when they leave the relationship. Unfortunately, that hurts the child more than the father in a lot of cases. But those, like she said in the video, that bitterness, that resentment, that like if you just listen to what women say about why they got divorced or why they relationship, they always find a way to paint themselves as the victim. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it could be something like, he just ignored me. All he did was work, and all he did was provide. Like, so if we was having a conversation about all he did was play video games and smoke weed, we would be talking about he should be doing what you just complained about. So it's in a lot of ways, it feels like for men, it's a lose-lose situation. And while we have, the red pill, mindset and all these type of guys that are adamantly against getting married and putting a guy in a position to take the L's that come with divorce. So
yeah,
it's a brutal world out here. So the ladies that do find a man that's willing to marry him, place a little value on that, because most of those guys that you really like probably ain't gonna feel that way.
Exactly.
Let's keep things rolling. Now, this next video, I'm not sure what podcast this was a video from, but it's having the timeless conversation about the woman in the relationship not being in the mood for sex and how her perspective on it. Let's take a look.
I know, I can't speak for all wives, but I know for me, in the morning I can be feeling one way, and by the time the evening gets there, I'm not feeling that same way. So I don't want to get your hopes up, if that makes sense, by telling you, oh, it's going down tonight, and then by the time the night get there, I'm like, so that's sometimes why I prefer not to. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because if you tell your boss, I'm going to be there at this particular time, you can't say I didn't feel like being there at that time. That's why I didn't show up.
Yes.
I hear you, wives, but why is it less of a priority because you don't feel like it anymore? When you make other commitments that you don't feel like doing, you still do it because you made the commitment.
That's easy for y'all to say, but it's like, would you want somebody ramming in you if you're just not in the mood for it?
So I say, well, okay, if we're talking about in terms,
and excuse my bluntness, but it's really, that's how it feels like when you don't want it.
Now, I can understand her perspective on it. And I think for the most part, I don't think most men expect sex every day. So a woman not being in the mood in itself is not a problem. It's when that becomes the default response to him wanting sex or affection. And that essentially kills the relationship. I've talked several times about that's why I cheat. You know, after the conversations, you talking, you having discussions about it, you telling you how you feel. Eventually, you just like, all right, cool. Do you don't want it? That's cool. And so from that perspective of a husband that's not getting his needs met, it's like, all right, man, I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I was faithful for like almost the first 2 years before I stepped out. And I didn't feel no guilt when I did. You know what I'm saying? Like I was living up to everything that I had signed up for. And so when women do this, I don't think they realize how much they're hurting their relationship, and they're putting their husband in a position to get his needs met elsewhere. And you know, I explained that when we was in marriage counseling, we talked about that. And why it was so important. So that's why I was so shocked when it happened. I'm like, bro, we sat and talked about what happens when a man's needs don't get met. But fortunately for me, I didn't get caught at the time, so I was able to explain to her what happened after the fact. But you know, it definitely changed the whole relationship, and it changes a man's desire to even stay in the relationship. So what she said, I get it, but find alternatives. You don't have to have a man ramming into there. There are lots of alternatives to help a man bust a nut.
And no, I get what she said. You know, it's not realistic to expect sex every single night, right? Especially if you're in a serious committed relationship, married, right? You know, you have other things, other stuff going on. So it wouldn't just be realistic. Hey, we just gonna go ahead and jump into bed every night and do it every day. But you know, I would say at least 2 to 3 times a week. That would be reasonable. I think most men wouldn't even have a problem with that. You know, let's just say 3 times. If it's 3 times out the week, right? That's every other day.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. And you know what? I always go ahead. I'll let you finish.
I'm saying, yeah. You know, with this whole, I'm not in the mood. And I remember SD did a survey on how many times women's emotions change. And it's like more than 10 times a day for most women, right? So yeah, she could feel in the mood, maybe that morning, that afternoon, and then at night she's not in the mood for one reason or another. So that plays a factor in it too.
Very true. But the thing that always got me is like, if you let a dude know, hey, I'm not really in the mood, dudes can make themselves nut pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, cool. You ain't in the mood. Shit. 1 or 2 minutes, I'll be turnover. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me hit it from the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, men have masturbated since they was teens. We know how to get a nut out. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're not in the mood, say less. This can be quick and over and done with. But I don't think women really take into consideration that when a man is having sex with a woman that he already loves, his body reacts way different than just random sex with another woman. Like, that's why we have the phrase making love. Like, the emotional, the mental things that he's going to be thinking about after the sex, hours after the sex, days after the sex. Those are the things that keep him connected to his woman. Yeah. And when that is absent, when your connection, a man's connection to his woman changes, how he thinks about the things he thinks about and the way he views her changes. He'll still be able to, provide and do the things that he's normally take out the trash, do this and that. But the way that he interacts with you and the way he feels towards you is going to change. And sometimes once it reaches a certain point, it will never go back to how it used to be.
Yeah, no question. I mean, think about it like this, right? As a man, every day, you wake up with the chance of getting some and getting sex in it. You wake up with that fighting chance. Now, when you're in a committed relationship and you're living with somebody, you're married, once she decides that, hey, she's not going to have sex with you, right? She's already made that decision that you aren't going to have sex on that particular night. And listen, men are not signing up for that.
Yeah, it is one of those sacrifices, being a married man, and I try not to compare my single life to, to married life. Because when you just think about it as far as numbers go, like, is very difficult. And in a lot of cases, I don't think women really understand what single life is like for a successful bachelor. But for a dude that's sleeping with on average 3 to 5 women per week, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's very hard to go from that for years and years to being with just one woman. And so that's why, when SD talks about the men that have already had the whole phase, once a man has had that experience in his early 20s or whatnot, it makes it easier for him to live without it. But if you've never experienced it and you've never, you know what I'm saying, like you've trying to build yourself up to a point to be able to experience it, that's where you got to get the dudes that finally get a bag or finally fix their teeth and stuff and go crazy, because they never was getting attention like that. They never been able to shoot their shot at the girls they really liked before. They had to kind of settle for what fell in their lap. So that's why you have we talk about it, the guys that have had girls in high school and college and all that, those make the best husbands, because those men know how to deal with temptation and lust, and they know how to make a relationship work with the woman that they actually care about.
Absolutely.
All right, man. It looks like we up against the clock. We about to take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna be getting into today's topic: Are we the problem? Where we're really just having a discussion about our dating strategies and why they seem to be more geared towards short-term flings than long-term relationships. You're tuning into the Hold Husband podcast. We'll be back in a minute. Hi, I'm relationship coach and author Terry Duran, and I am pleased to announce that my book, It's Not That Complicated, is finally available as an audiobook. So if you don't like to read, or you just don't have time to read a paperback book, this audiobook is perfect for you. You can listen to it while you're in your car, while you're at work, etc. In the book, I break down how husband material men think and operate in regards to sex, love, and relationships, and I provide real quality insight on how husband material men approach dating. The audiobook is available on audible.com and on iTunes. All you have to do is go to one of the websites and search for my name, Terry Duran. Go download your copy today. All right, everybody, welcome back. Today's topic is titled, Are We the Problem? We're just going to be discussing our male and female dating strategies and why it seems like our strategies are more focused on flings and situationships and short-term situations than they are for actual having long-term relationship success. And so I wanted to ask you, it seems like one of the fundamental flaws, I guess, of the way that we approach dating is, for men and for women, I believe, our initial response to the opposite sex is based off our physical attraction. And I think that's kind of like where we go wrong, because physical attraction, it's necessary to maintain a relationship over time, but that within itself doesn't provide any of the qualities it takes to be a good husband or a good wife.
Yeah, I think it's definitely based on how we're physically attracted to one another, right? A woman that likes a guy versus a man that that she's physically attracted to and likes, versus a guy that she's not physically attracted to, is going to be drastically different. Even the same with men. For example, a woman that we're physically attracted to, we typically will let things slide with her as we wouldn't with somebody that we're not physically attracted to. So I think it's just part of the game there.
Yeah, you have to. I think when you're dating, and I guess I'm a man, so I've always taken a logical approach to dating, meaning that I've always been evaluating or using it as not necessarily a testing zone, but I'm evaluating a woman's character, how she feels about me and what her attraction level is to me. But not only that, how she presents herself to the public, how she handles problems, how she handles different situations. I thought everybody did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly thought that's what everybody was out here doing. It wasn't until I got older where I realized that some people were totally clueless about what dating actually means and what you should be doing. But I get it. It's based off your opportunities. So if you ain't had many dating opportunities, it'll be harder for you to do those things. But that within itself there are so many people that don't know what it takes to have a successful long-term relationship. And to me, it seemed like it was real, like more common sense than anything.
Yeah, yeah, but you know what? You know what they say about common sense? Common sense ain't so common. Like you figure everyone, especially men, would take a logical, practical approach towards dating, but not every man does, right? I mean, obviously, women are emotional by nature, so most women aren't going to take a practical, logical approach. I mean, there's some that are, but a lot aren't. So I think listen. I think you can go sit here and probably teach a whole masterclass on, logical and just practical dating.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that hard, but there are a lot of different factors that go into it, a lot of different things to navigate. And with today's society, you have so much more information about another person and what they doing and where they going and all that. So you have to take in and sort through a lot more things to make a long-term decision. But I have cousins, I have female friends, and I used to always question their decisions. Like I could never figure out how they were choosing one guy over the other. Like obviously I get it. I know that you have to be attracted to a guy, but for guys, it's so easy to identify a dude that ain't going nowhere or a dude that's not husband material. It's like it's hard to understand how women can't see through all that stuff. But once you get down to it, it's because her feelings towards that dude, her level of attraction, and the way that women can become delusional about a guy that they actually like, how they can project and make up stuff in their head to try to, like, man, he never told you he wanted you to be his woman. How'd you come? Like they jump to all these conclusions and stuff. Well, he came over my house and we had sex. Like they use all these things to make assumptions about what guys think and feel. And to me, I just was amazed. Like, damn, these be the decisions on whether or not to keep a baby and whether or not to accept. You know what I'm saying? Like they be making some real life-changing decisions based off how they feel about a dude texting, you know what I'm saying, and stuff that is super insignificant to me. And I guess that's kind of why I got into the advice lane in the first place. I was like, damn, I can't believe how clueless these women are.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it gets progressively worse here. But I think with women, a lot of women, they treat their feelings as if they are facts. And I think a lot of times what happens is once sex is involved, that's where everything gets blurred. That's where all the lines get blurred, and that's where she's basing everything on that. How she because 9 times out of 10 when a woman's having sex with a guy, there's an emotional attachment to that guy. Like she's at this sleeping him, just sleep with this guy. He doesn't have to do that. I mean, unless you're a prostitute or something, I would see that be the only way you wouldn't have an emotional attachment. But other than that, there is.
In today's transactional world, I don't know if that's still the case. But back when I was single, most women were having sex with guys because they actually liked you. And so presenting a woman, with what you got going on, what your lifestyle is, what you like to do and all that, the guys that were able to be authentic and do those things had success. They were able to stay in their lane, choose women that were on their level. But things have shifted. Like the self-perception that a lot of people, men and women, have of themselves is largely based off social media and likes and all those type of things. And so how people are perceived by their potential dating partners can be drastically different than how they view themselves or how they're viewed on social media. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. And so I guess I wanted to ask you or steer the conversation, like, where do you think most people are even getting their dating advice these days? Because back in the day, it used to be older family members and people passing down the game. Where do you think most people are getting that information today?
I think with the advent of social media here, I think that's where most people are getting their relationship advice from, right? Because think about it, when you start looking for relationship advice, you can go right on social media, you can type it in on Instagram, TikTok, and a bunch of stuff will start showing up into your algorithm, and they'll push that stuff in your algorithm. they'll push different dating apps on there. They'll push different people's platforms, especially the bigger platforms, they'll push that into your algorithm there. So you can find what you're looking at, and they'll cater towards what type of relationship advice that you're looking for. I think obviously if a man's looking for a relationship advice from another man, they'll push, some of these men's content creators. If women are looking for a certain relationship, they'll push, some women's content creators. And most of the time, they'll push panders into that algorithm. 9 times out of 10.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
With me being in the relationship space, I see all kind of, like, it's a lot of times it's a new person I never heard of that only got a couple thousand followers. So I see a lot of people, sometimes they make sense. I'll repost people and I'll tag, comment on their stuff and all this. So I engage with a lot of those type of people. So I see it. But I can't imagine like being single or being not knowing situations and having that as my source of information, because there's a lot of pandering that is disguised as advice. There's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of things that are disguising prostitute mentality and trick mentality and all these type of things. And none of that is going to lead to relationship success. And so the way that society, especially social media, is kind of pushing that a man got to be 6 feet, 6 figures, and all these type of things. Well, the men that actually meet the categories that women actually want, there aren't very many people explaining dating from their perspective. When they're actually in a position to choose between multiple quality women, what are the small margins that they use to decide between them? You know what I mean? The panders ain't telling you that. They're not really talking about the things that'll make a man fall out of love or have a man that viewed you as somebody that he wanted to marry change his mind. Like hearing that stuff, I can get it. It can be painful, but to me, it's more beneficial long term to figure out what would hurt your relationship or make you undesirable, and then put in the work to either avoid it or minimize it.
Yeah, I think the problem, and you're absolutely right, but I think the problem we have that, some women are okay with being accountable and being better to make their, the current relationship they have, or better their chances of getting in, a long-term committed relationship with the quality guy. But then you have the other half that, listen to these parents, take it as relationship advice, take it as the word of gospel, and not getting the dating results. But they'll keep listening because that's what they want to hear. Meanwhile, the pandering stuff is what's keeping you single, because it makes her look like a victim. Like, we spoke about this earlier, right? A lot of times where women, in their previous relationship paint themselves as a victim, and that's what these panders do. No matter what you do, they still paint you as the victim, and it just reinforces what their disposition already was there.
Well, I wanted to ask you, if you had to give like a percentage, what percentage would you say a person's approach to dating or their dating strategy impacts their actual dating results, and versus fate, luck, or things that are out of their control?
Man, I'm gonna say about 85% is how you approach it, and how you present yourself. Because I think to get the results you want, I think it takes action, right? So it's, how do you present yourself? Both, and that goes for both men and women. It's not just, limited to a particular gender. It's both men and women, how you present yourself, how you, step outside, how you dress yourself, how you dress every day. For a guy, obviously getting, if you're going out, getting that shape up, getting that fresh cut, making sure, your clothes are coordinated, putting on cologne. And, women, make sure your hair's done, makeup, nails, feet done, good perfume. Those things bad. And how you approach, how you talk to people, that plays a factor too. Like I said a few weeks ago, there's always a luck factor and fate involved. Sometimes you're in the right place at the right time and you happen to meet somebody. Does that happen? Yeah. But like I said, if you present yourself well and you look the part, I think luck, it lowers the luck factor exponentially. I think if you're relying on luck, I don't think it's going to, if you're just relying on faith and luck, I don't think you're going to get the results you want 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I think that's more of like the hopeless romantic approach is just, it's going to work out. The person I want's going to magically appear and all that. I don't, I guess I'd say a person's strategy from the male perspective, I'd say it's probably 75% of the equation. Because, like you said, although the stuff that makes you desirable for women are things that take a long time to do, and you have to be working on those things or doing those things when you by yourself for the most part, being able to develop the skills that it takes to engage in women, to approach a table of women, to make women laugh, make a group of women, maintain a conversation with you. Like all those type of different skills and things that you check off the box, they seem small, like once you learn how to do it. But the anxiety that can come with, being attracted to a woman and not knowing how to speak to her, like every guy can remember what that felt like. Those times where you was just too nervous to operate how you wanted to operate, or you were putting a girl on a pedestal and those type of things, learning how to actually approach the situation in a way that not necessarily gives you leverage per se, but makes you someone that they actually consider desirable. And I would say having an approach that minimizes your friend zone. Like that everybody gets put in the friend zone, but if you can make your friend zone target smaller, like give women less reason to place you there, I think ultimately for a guy, obviously you got to do the work, making sure you look the part and in our own pace to be a husband and provider and all that type of stuff. But in the meantime, when you own that path, dating is a one-on-one sport. So to me, I always viewed it, if I can have a one-on-one conversation with a woman and we can talk about what I'm doing, how I'm doing, what my day-to-day lifestyle is, what my goals are, and what I'm working towards, I've always felt like I can always impress a girl that's on my level or underneath with that. And that's why I didn't have to lead with money. I didn't have to, love bomb, and I didn't have to make every girl my girlfriend. I could let them see what I got going on, let them see my lifestyle, and you can either get with it or not. I think having that approach to where you leave your options open and you make sure that the options like you for a guy, that's the recipe for success that I've seen replicated over and over.
That's definitely a good way. But the next one, does online attention translate to real world dating success?
No, I don't think so. Well, I guess the initial thing will be, how do you define success? If you define, like if you're a male, you define success by you're able to consistently have sex with the women you find attractive, then I would say yes, social media attention can translate to if that's your definition of dating success. But if your definition is a long-term relationship that could potentially lead to marriage, then no, I don't think just being popular on social media or all that is necessarily going to do it, because you can get those in a variety of different ways. Like everybody's following and everybody's popularity ain't built on the same thing. Some people have a following because they're authentic and they transparent and they real and people respect them. Some have a following because they look bad in swimsuits and look cute in their panties. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there are lots of different reasons that a person could be getting that attention. So I don't think that by itself, necessarily makes them a quality person to date.
Yeah, I would say though. I mean, a lot of the online attention is really more so geared towards women. Like they get more of the online attention on, in Instagram or TikTok. Just because, like you said, she looked bad in swimsuits or looks bad in that dress, right? She's getting flooded with DMs and everything. Most men aren't getting flooded with DMs unless you're a celebrity. Maybe if you have a large following, or even if you're a celebrity, if you're somebody, a Michael B. Jordan, Chris Brown, are they getting flooded with DMs? I'm pretty sure. But most of the time, even the average woman gets flooded with DMs. And I think, just like we spoke about earlier, when we spoke about the video earlier, where women are just leaving thinking the grass is greener. A lot of times it's based on that attention that she's getting on social media, and she's thinking the grass is greener there. She's confusing that attention,
the check marks,
options,
the
and
celebrity.
yeah, and she's confusing that for guys that actually want her, and those are dudes just shooting a shot in the DM, just trying to get her in the bed. So does it translate into success? No. 9 times out of 10 it doesn't. Can there be dating success on her? Yes, but I don't think it does a lot of times.
Well, I think it definitely makes you more attractive or desirable, showing that you pop in and that you got a large following and all that. Definitely when it helps your social currency.
Yes.
Like when her friends show them your page and you got followers and they see you got motion or whatnot, that does go a long way, because we know that social media is going to get checked and evaluated by the crew. When a woman's dating you for, and telling you about her friends and all that. But like I said, it can definitely make you more attractive and give you more options, whether you're a male or woman, depending on the type of content that you post and the work that you put in. Like the men that have put in the work to be fine, they can show themselves in the mirror with their shirts off and post content like that and go live and like in like boxers and things of that nature to show what they've been working on. And if you're single, you ain't gotta worry about what nobody think. You can use that type of content to figure out who's interested in you. And it's gonna definitely increase your chances if you find the people that are in your city or in the clubs that you go to and things of that nature. But it's a two-sided sword. Being popular on social media can also have a negative impact on your dating situations. You have more people that are going to be in your business. You have more potential for lies, more potential for rumors. So it's not just all popular, fluff when you dating with somebody that's popular. You never, if you dating somebody that got a pass, you can get exposed from being popular on social media. You know what I'm saying? So it's not always a positive thing. And there are a lot of negative situations that can arise just because a person's popular. People pay more attention to you for that reason. So and a lot of people can't really handle dating somebody that's actually popular or famous. Like if you insecure about a regular dude and you dating a dude that's really, everywhere he go, women recognize him and want pictures with him and all that, that's a lot to deal with for the average woman that has some insecurity in her. So it's not all fun and games, but it increases your options. So it is what it is. I wanted to ask your thoughts on this. Do you think that for men and for women, that the dating expectations that we currently have really evolved with the times and the economics that we dealing with today?
They definitely evolved. Now, I don't know if you could say that they're better than what they were, but I think it's just because of the present economy, but also because social media, right? And back in the day, but I think with social media, right, it gives you access to people all over the country, all over the world, whereas back in, let's just say 20, 30 years ago, you were almost limited to, who lived in your town or the surrounding areas, right? Because let's just say you went out in social settings, it was folks within that town or city that you were talking to. Now with social media, it gives you worldwide access to people. So I think it's definitely evolved with things you see, think about it, women get on these dating shows, Kendra G, hey, I want a guy, like you said earlier, I want a guy who's, 6 foot, 6 figures, drives a G-Wagon, can put me in a house, is going to protect, provide. And I mean, the average household income is, I think, what, $52,000. So
I think that the expectations have been inflated by social media. I guess the biggest difference is most people are focusing on what they want, not what they actually need. The things that it takes to have a stable household or provide for a family, they're not the things that are talked about on social media. Because being a husband, being somebody that provides that stable lifestyle that is conducive to raising a family, that's pretty boring. That means you have to be doing the same things for the most part every week, every month. You are providing consistency so that your family is not living in a chaotic turmoil type situation. You're not being reckless with your money and not being able to pay your rent. You're not, taking huge gambles or having your priorities out of whack where you focused on going on vacation every month versus making sure your bills are paid. Like the things that come with being the man of the house and prioritizing things, it's boring. You're the bad guy. You have to be the one saying no majority of the time. And I think for most guys, at least, especially the ones that are husband material, I think their expectations are realistic, but they're getting a glimpse of what they're actually dealing with that is changing how they maneuver and what they expect out of women. So it looks like they're how we talk about in sports, you playing down to your competition. I think that's kind of what's going on in the dating world.
Yeah, no question. So like, who benefits the most when women view husband material men that provide stability as too boring?
Well, I'd say that the men that don't fit that description. The fuck boys, the dudes that are just, lying to chicks and telling them what they want to hear. If the women are curving and ignoring all the dudes that are, have the husband material, and they just want to kick it with the dude that's fun to hang out with, he's gonna roll blunts and do this and have fun. That works perfect for dudes. You know what I'm saying? Like, and men, they'll probably have some baby mamas eventually and all that. There's a risk that comes with the lifestyle, but that's very sustainable for guys. Guys can go their entire lives living that kind of lifestyle. I'm just here for fun. I don't want nothing serious. I'm just here to kick it. And if he's developed the skills to be able to constantly attract women, he can do that throughout his whole life, and just depending on his love and responsibility, whether the STDs and kids come in.
No question, he stands to benefit the most out of that. Because, like I said, he's gonna sell that woman her dreams, gonna tell her what she wants to hear, and fake it till he make it, because he's gonna get what he wants at it. And 9 times out of 10, he's getting sex out the woman, right? Whereas the husband material guys, and I think unfortunately there's a lot of women that make these dating decisions based on Mr. Excitement and Mr. Swaggy, as opposed to the guy that's husband material. And I don't want to be, he's too this, he's too boring. But I mean, I think relationships can evolve over time. That's just my opinion. I mean, you can do things to make it for. I mean, I guess I don't know if you're saying. I don't know if she's just saying his personality is boring, but I just never understood that rationale or logic.
I mean, it's not really. It's an emotional thing. I would say they're describing their feelings towards the guys that don't live that don't sell dope. He ain't trapping. He ain't, what I'm saying? He don't have a pistol. Like, we see the girls that go online and talk about how they miss the excitement of dudes that get in fights and get in confrontations and do all those type of things, like the bad boy image. So to me, I never had, ambitions to be a gangster or whatnot, but growing up poor, I grew up around a lot of dudes that was like that. So you have to be able to fight. You have to be able to hold your own. You have to be able to operate in a way where you get respect from those type of dudes, I think that guys like that fit my category, we ain't interested in majority of women anyway. So there's a small percentage of women that we even want anyway. So long as we're able to target those women and consistently get them, we'll be cool with our dating strategies. You know what I'm saying? Like, because as a man, you could tally up your results relatively easy. You either getting the women that you like and to give you time, attention, and sex, or you not. It's not a thing where you questioning whether or not what you're doing is working or not. And that's why so many guys actively take steps to put themselves in better position and get better results. And that can be accomplished in a variety of ways. But it largely depends on the dude's value system. Like if you just the type of dude that ain't cool with lying to get coochie, then you're not gonna take that approach. You're gonna tell women things that may have her be like, I'm gonna block him. He told me I was, you know what I'm saying? Like I need to improve, or he said something about my weight, or he, you know what I'm saying? Like they can cut you off for whatever reason that they want. But those things don't align with what they say that they want. You know, when you talk about when you put up a post about a woman losing weight, first thing, he should have worked with her. He should have asked her to work go to the gym with him. He should have did this. He should have did that. The minute you do that, you controlling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a lose-lose situation for the guys. Yeah. So it's, I guess.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, man. I was gonna say to get back to the topic of the podcast. Are we the problem? It seems like, for the most part, we are the problem. I don't think that, because I think dating has always been a fundamental thing. You are actively seeking to meet potential dating partners, and then once you meet them, you trying to exchange contact information and put up, create situations to get to know each other and spend time together. To me, that fundamentally can be done through a variety of mediums, like we talked about last week. Man, you can meet a chick, a cute profile pic on College Club can lead to a DM, and that can lead to an exchange of phone number. Like that can happen in a few minutes, after a brief conversation. So the way that you meet the person don't really matter. But if those things take place, I feel very confident if I can get a one-on-one conversation with a woman where there's mutual attraction, I can, move the process along to where we linking up, and then we can go from there. I can evaluate if the interest is, should it continue, or was it just you was looking fine when I saw you?
So I got a question to you. You said, we all, pretty much we are the problem as us, everyone, right? As a collective here. And I agree with that for the most part. Do you think there are ways we can kind of, I guess, bridge the gap where we can kind of lower us being the problem?
Yeah. I mean, but it's not going to ever be a major impact. It's going to have to be done individually. Like you gotta check yourself, a man or a woman. There are more than enough people putting quality content out there for people to be able to identify what they're doing that don't fit the mold. And so if you make sure that you are presenting, you are able to control your emotions, you have some emotional control. You can respond to criticism without making it like you attacked, or the person you hate women. Like, no, I'm giving you game on how to improve because I want you to succeed. Like if I hated you, I could just sit back and laugh at you failing. But you have to approach it like that. And so the women that actually finally get it, I would hope that you get it before you in your late 20s and 30s and all that. The earlier you get it, the better off you're gonna be, because you can avoid doing the things that make you undesirable. Like I'm trying to talk to my daughter now. Like right now, you a cheerleader, you 16, and you fine. Make sure if you stay working out your whole life, you'll stay fine. Don't wait till you get fat to try to get back fine. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm able to explain to her, my situation, how fat I used to be, and she see the work I put in now. You know what I mean? Like, don't ever fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like if you maintain what you have, you're going to always be at the top, of your dating, dating class, or however you want to put it.
I mean, how did she respond? 16-year-old, obviously she's probably, I don't know if she's dated guys at her high school or anything. I know you told me stories like, guys like her, but she doesn't, think too much of it. She's just like, oh, whatever. But how did she respond when you give her this, some of the advice?
She just kind of sits there and listens. She don't really, I don't think she's dating, her and her friends. They're really hard on the boys. So they
okay.
look down. He's too short, or he's this. So like there's something wrong with just about everybody. So I don't know if I'm pretty sure they got guys that they think are cute or whatnot, but she didn't keep me in the loop on that part. But I just explained to her, I try to get her to see what the high school boys are dealing with. Like, man, y'all are popular, y'all are cheerleaders, y'all are in groups all the time. Like, it's very difficult for a dude to come up and express to you, like, man, I think you're really cute. I want to say, you know what I'm saying? Like that. I'm trying to get her to understand that that's a major thing, because they dismiss guys that show interest in them. Like, oh my God, he told people, you know what I'm saying? Like man, you know how much it took for that dude to let everybody know he thought you was cute. So I'm just trying to get her to put some appreciation and respect on the guys that do show interest. But who knows, man? TikTok is probably teaching her more than I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, man. Look like we up against the clock. We about to get up out of here. Before I go, man, I want to give another shout out to my man, Brother Soul Productions, for keeping us laced with our background music. I want to remind everybody to continue supporting us through our Cash App and our PayPal. We definitely appreciate anything you give. Shout out to SD, man. I'm looking forward to getting them back on another episode. And I appreciate you, Jay, linking up so we can get this episode knocked out. This has been another episode of the Hold Husband Podcast, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.